Hello everyone, nice to see you again. So for the chapter 2, we are talking about the issue how to use the regression analyze for our conversion rate. Okay, what is the factor to affect the conversion rate? We will find the major factor for our marketing issues. For the Python, we first go to our working directory. So don't forget to go to your working directory. And also please download the source code and the data set for today's course. So since my source code is in my USB drivers, so you may find it. So first, to find the source code, machine learning, this folder, so open. So you may find the source code which I have provided for you guys. So today I would like to talk about the Python machine learning chapter 2 we call regression analyzed. So please have this source code ready for today's course. Okay, so last week we have talked about the conversion rate, right? So today I would like to show how to find out the factor to affect our conversion rate. So the topic for today is how to find the driving factor, okay, behind marketing engagement rate. So we also call engagement rate, conversion rate. What is engage? Your customer renew their contract or they buy your contract. They call engagement. So it's the course we have to calculate what is the driving factor for our engagement rate. So we should use the linear regression analyzed. Okay, in Chinese we call 线性回归分析. That's for our marketing engagement rate. Okay, so you may find a lot of factors will affect your marketing campaign. So I have some reference so you guys can look the materials about what is the 10 factor to influence your marketing campaign. Okay, so today's object we have to do is we first to import the data set. Okay, so later I will explain the data set for detail for our second sections. Okay, so first we have to import some required package for us, right? So the three major package we are using, the first one is this Matplotlib for data visualization, 视觉化. The second module we call pandas, okay, it's for data processing. The third one is NumPy, but for today's course we only need these two packages for data visualization, for data processing. We use PLT for this one, for Matplotlib. Use PD as pandas for short. So okay, so first we have to import these two required packages. Okay, so right now these two packages are ready for use. For our analyze, we have first to row to import the dataset first. Since you have downloaded the CSV file which I have provided in our iLearn systems, so you please download the source code with this dataset. This dataset is provided by IBM companies. Later I will explain the detail for this dataset. Since that, so my dataset is different as my source code. So I save the dataset in DS data. So I change my working directory to DS data. And my dataset is here. Okay, if your dataset is the same folder as your source code, so you don't have to specify the path for your files. Okay, so you just type the name for your CSV file, and this CSV file is separated by comma 逗点分割的. So we use the pandas modules function. The function is read CSV file. Okay, so let us to import the dataset. Okay, we are lucky didn't get any error message. So let us go back to Variable Explorer here to check is the dataset import correctly. Okay, so here you may find the dataset we just created, we just import, and we name as DF. So DF, it means data frame for short. So here you may find the size for your dataset is with more than 9,000 records with 24 columns. That means 24 variables for this dataset. Okay, so you can double click by the name for the DF to take a look at the content in this dataset. Okay, here you may find some columns, right? Here, the column names. How many variables? 24 variables. Okay, so your first job is to import the dataset first. After import the dataset, so we may to find out the figure for our dataset. So what is the shape for our data frame? It's 9133, okay, records to 24 columns for this dataset. Please show me the first 5 lines records. Also, you can show the first 10 records. So you just specify the n equal to 10. It will retrieve 10 rows for your dataset. Also, don't forget to describe your dataset. Okay, so it will return a row close by a columns, because we describe it only to return the numerical numbers first. So as you can see, because you can see all the content, because it erase some information, it's hard to see the whole picture for the describe. Okay, so please to have your exercise script. So we have a new script for our exercise and delete everything. Okay, so we just copy df dot describe here and go copy to our exercise files, and we rename the result for df dot describe. We name as df describe, des for short, equal to df dot describe. Okay, so let us run this instructions. So you get a new data frame called df des. So you may find the result for this comment. So this one is a descriptive statistic we call 叙述性统计. Descriptive statistic for our numerical problem, continuous variables. So you may see they all are numbers. So how many rows here is A rows here. The first row is it shows the elements for each color. So they are all 91, 34 elements each. So every cell is with the numbers, so it's okay. So what is the mean? The average, right? Average for income. So you can see here is the income for the average income. What is the maximum income? The minimum income is 0. Later I will explain the variable name for you guys. Okay? So it's easy for you to use the describe to see the range for each color. Okay, so let us go back to our source code. You also can use list parameter to include all the variable for describe function. Since with the original describe, it only show the continuous variables, not object data type. 类别型的变数它不会秀。So if we want to show all the variables described, so just to use list parameters. So include everything, include out. Okay, here you will find more information about your data set. Okay, since it's hard to read, so we to copy our list comment, we make exactly the same as our previous. Okay, so we save as df des lo with list variables. So you may find the result for this comment. So we get a new data frame, this one. Here you may find out some result for each columns. For numericals variables, you may find the mean, the maxima, the minima for the numericals numbers, right? It's easy. But with object data type, you cannot calculate the mean for the object variables, but it only shows the unique, how many labels for each object variables. So here you may find out the labels for the state variables. There are 5 labels for state. What about the response? Two labels, 2种形态. What about gender? 性别 two types. right? Okay, so you can with this function to include all the variables describe, result of the describe. Okay, so if you only to see the object, you can use this one. If I only to see the object describe, so you just copy and I name a different data frame name for this one, OBJ for short. The describe for object variable. Okay, so you find the describe for object variables. Okay, so there are only 3 rows for each. Since all the variables are object, not numericals, so they don't calculate the standard deviation or mean or maxima, minima. They only to count how many unique labels for each object variables, right? Okay, so what is the name for our columns? So df dot columns, it will show the variables name for us, and you can have the list for your variables. So how many variables? There are 24 variables for this data set. For IBM auto insurance data set, we are going to investigate. So you may see the first one is customer's ID, which state the customer belong to. If they are in California, in Washington, D.C., or in Florida. And also with some customer value from their company. Later I will explain each variable for you. Okay, so please show me the data type for each column. So we use D type to check the data type for each column. So with these instructions, you get the object. So you find out the object. So it means for customers, they are not continuous variable, 不是连续型的变数，它们是类别型的变数 object variables. So you may find how many variables are numerical type. This one, customer lifetime value, is data type for floating point, which is real number, 实数. The second one is this one, income for their customers, 他们的收入. The data type is integer, 整数. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all these 5 variables, all integers. The last one, this one, total claim amount, is floating numbers. Okay, it's time for you guys to import the data set and do this to find out the description, describe for each variables and object variables and continue variables. Okay, see you in the second